Jamie Lusher, Chief Academic Officer for Grandview Heights Schools. Wanted to be able to talk with you a little bit today about the various options that I know that you're spending some time as a family thinking about making the best decision in these very atypical, challenging times. So I've had the opportunity to talk to quite a few community members over the past few weeks, and let me say to you that I appreciate the time and attention that you have given to not only the processes that we've used to be able to put some options in place, but also to think about and very deeply what's best for your child. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and present some of the options that we have shared with you today. So we've sent a lot of information out to you, and I know many of you have participated and viewed our Board of Education meetings, and an avalanche of content has come out to you. And so I've had the great pleasure of talking with a lot of you about options for your child, what makes the most sense, and ultimately you've asked really great questions that we feel like we want to just give a little bit more time and attention to. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that our parents and our students feel like they have a choice when they're thinking about the best experience for their child. I think I speak for all of us when we say that we truly wish we were back to a place where we were going to school in a traditional setting, where our students were walking through our doors in the morning, walking up Kindergarten Hill, and we were getting to see them and do what we love doing. I know that I speak for our staff. I know that I speak for our administrative team, and I certainly know that I speak for the parents and students in our community regarding that. So as you know, we have created pathways for families to choose. The first is a school-based pathway where students, depending on the recommendations that we would get from local health authorities, would have an opportunity to be in school full days, like a normal 5 days a week from 8 to 3, or as we would transition based on the requirements and recommendations from other agencies, transitioning to a hybrid model where students would come from 8 in the morning until roughly noon, and then they would break for lunch, and then students would come back to school from 12 to 3. So 2 separate cohorts of students, A through K in the morning and L through Z in the afternoon, where we would have a blend of face-to-face learning as well as distance learning. And then depending on requirements and regulations, we would be transitioning to a full distance learning opportunity for our students, where our teachers would be providing structures of asynchronous and synchronous learning tied to Grandview's curriculum standards, and students would be going through their proverbial traditional school day, but in an online setting and environment. And I will say that we spent a great deal of time this summer in planning with intention and with rigor to develop and design opportunities for students to have more consistency in that distance learning environment. What I would say also is that in the spring, we were asked to pivot very, very quickly from traditional school setting to a completely online experience for students. So we sent out information, we sent out surveys, and we've got a great deal of feedback regarding the structures and the frequency and duration of time that we want to see our students learning and engaged in activities as a part of the distance learning experience. And then the second opportunity that we have allotted for is an all digital pathway. And this pathway is where we have partnered with Florida Virtual School, but we'll be facilitating that learning experience with our staff. So I want to talk a little bit about this option for our families, because I fielded a great number of questions, and they're all really good questions. So first and foremost, Florida Virtual School is an online accredited institution that has been around since 1997. They have a full battery of curriculum, K-12. They also have elementary Spanish, as well as AP courses that we offer here at our school. They're accredited, and they're also aligned to Ohio's learning standards. Now, we are purchasing upwards of 40 courses from Florida Virtual Learning, so it's a partnership. Those courses then are being uploaded into Schoology for our students to access. So for any family that chooses the Florida Virtual Learning pathway, the all digital pathway, they will still be enrolled in Grandview schools, not Florida Virtual. We enroll them, they're our student, but these courses are then uploaded into Schoology. Now, it is an important distinction to recognize that these courses are self-paced and asynchronous. We will have a teacher connection, a teacher facilitating and guiding and helping students through their coursework. Right now, based on our numbers, that learning is going to be facilitated in 2 cohorts of students, our K-6 program and our 7-12 program. Had a lot of questions about why we chose this partnership. Well, when we put our initial survey out, we had upwards of 97% of our families saying that they wanted to return to school in some traditional or hybrid model. We had less than nearly 3% of our families looking for a fully online option. So for us, That creates a real challenge in creating staffing and a structural solution within our district, especially when we had such a broad swath of different grades represented. So for example, at the time that we sent our survey out, we had only around 30 students that would be interested in doing a fully online option. Well, those 30 students were scattered across our K-12 program, which would make it really very difficult and, quite frankly, not a possibility to be able to create an online academy like larger districts could facilitate with staffing and enrollment numbers. So by partnering with Florida Virtual, we're able to purchase those courses, keep them in Schoology. Students will access on their Chromebooks. They are totally compatible with our district Chromebooks and iPads. They would still receive, any student that is enrolled as a Florida Virtual pathway would still continue to receive special education programming, gifted services through Grandview City Schools. All of the grades that they earn in completing those curriculums through the Florida Virtual that we've purchased would be reflected on transcripts just as our Grandview Heights school grades would. They're the exact same because we are, in fact, they're still enrolled in our district. And all the weighting of grades is, in fact, consistent with Grandview Heights schools. So any AP courses would be out of a 5 weighted credit. College Credit Plus as well, and then honors at a 4.5. So these are a couple of the questions that I have fielded, and I want to just make it clear that as we looked at this partnership, it isn't perfect, and it certainly isn't going to replace or replicate what we can do in our classrooms in a traditional setting. But what it does offer us is an opportunity to create another pathway for those families who really need to exercise a fully online experience throughout the year because of medical concerns, or, again, there are just some fragility pieces that it's a better option for our families. And it allows us to still maintain some personalization by working with our staff to be able to provide some facilitation. As you make this decision, there's no right, there's no wrong. And I think that, we really need to come back to this idea that the highest level of learning is the ability to observe without judgment. We want you to make the right decision for your family. We are asking families to try to decide by August 4th so that we can plan appropriately, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to happen to be able to roll up 40 plus courses and then make sure we have all of our students enrolled at various grade levels. I've had a lot of questions about what if I choose to have them fully online in the online pathway, but it's not a good fit. Am I making a terminal decision? In some other districts, because of staffing and enrollment numbers, students and parents are being asked to make a decision for the entire year or for the entire semester. We will absolutely give our families the option to transition from pathways, but we are asking you to please be mindful that grading periods and trimesters are really a natural time to transition. And this would help us minimize or mitigate any loss of exposure to either standards or content that the students would have been immersed in as part of the digital learning pathway. Lastly, based on feedback from our community and as part of our discussion at our previous board meeting, we were putting out information and asking families to give us feedback regarding a potential for a new pathway. So we are looking at the opportunity to get more feedback and to garner, interest in a distance learning option that is fully run by Grandview Heights teachers. Obviously, staffing and student enrollment would dictate the feasibility of this even being an option. So let me give you an example. When we put our first survey out, we had, like I said, 30 plus people respond that they were interested in a fully online option. Some grade levels we had 2 students, and some grade levels we had 3, and other grade levels we had 0 students. So the ability to staff and to be able to sustain a K-12 program of upwards of 40 courses would require a really dramatic shift in how we staff and essentially how we would provide those course offerings for students. So we did send out a survey. We are looking at that data to see if there's any feasibility of that being an option. More to come there, but just to be aware that we are gathering feedback just regarding that particular piece of discussion. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. Again, our goal is really to provide as much information to you as possible so that you can make the best decision for your child and for your family. But we also recognize just how challenging, figuring out how to balance the social, emotional, and academic needs are. So with that, we thank you very earnestly for your continued support, for your participation, and we certainly hope that in the near future, we're going to get to see you walk through those doors of Grandview Heights schools. Thank you.